I have the pleasure of talking to acting coach and author of the book, The Power of the Actor, Ivana Chubbuck. Ivana is the founder and director of the Ivana Chubbuck Studio and creator of the Chubbuck Technique that many actors lean on, including Halle Berry, Charlize Theron, Brad Pitt, Jake Gyllenhaal, and so many more over her 35-year career. So join us today while we delve into the acting world, according to Ivana, right here on Two Unemployed Actors.
Two unemployed actors, two unemployed actors, they're just between projects.
Ivana, I'm so excited to talk to you about the new updated edition of your book, The Power of the Actor.
So I just got to say, you got to send me the song so I can sing this all the time in my classes.
Because the joke, of course, is as an emerging actor, sometimes the gap between the projects are longer than the actual projects themselves, and I guess that's the challenge, staying work fit in between.
Can I change the lyrics to two employed actors, two employed actors?
100% agree.
I like to see the positive here.
I love it. So I think a nice way to delve into your 12-step acting technique, which forms the foundation of your book. There are a number of acting techniques out there. What advice do you have for actors who are really sort of struggling to find what works for them, and how would you introduce your technique to those actors?
I think people take too much emphasis on making honest and truthful, because just honest and truthful by itself is a couple of things, a little on the boring side, and two, it's a little self-involved. And so the idea is we want to find the things that will allow us to propel us, to fuel us into doing acts of daring, emotional daring, that allows us to try to overcome and win whatever our objective is in the material. And we want to watch emotional heroes. We want to watch people who take the things that we all go through, whether you've had severe realities like I've had with a very violent, emotionally and physical mother growing up, and then a lot of relationships that have also were not so good either. I must say myself. And I'm thinking, and then just life happening and all these things that we usually self-destruct with, and we usually get shamed from, and we usually become defeated by. And so I feel like what we have to do is, in order to get a job, you have to invest the people that are watching, whether the people that are watching is a casting director or producer or an actual audience. It's like you have to invest them. If they're not invested, just like life, if you're not invested in having a relationship with that other person, they're not going to want you on their set or on their stage. They're going to want to be with people that they feel they have a relationship with. So when actors get into this place where they say, well, I just got to keep it honest and real and kind of create this honest and real bubble, what happens, you're kind of keeping people out and keeping people from coming in. And you're just having an emotional moment for yourself. And it becomes kind of very self-centered, and also when people do that, it's hard to be around them. It's a little kind of off-putting just in real life. Say a real life person is, and we all have people like that in our lives, that they always have honest and real and truthful pain, and they talk about it nonstop. And so what we want to do is stay away from those people. We could love them a lot, but we don't, we have issues with just, it's so depressing to be around people that are so real and truthfully exploring their pain. But people we want to be around are people that want to do something about it. People who say, I think going to be proactive. Yes, things are bad. Yes, I've hit bottom, but what do I do? How do I find a way to change that? How do I find a way to solve that? Have some resolution, find some kind of a learning, some way I can learn from this situation that happened, and how can I ultimately find catharsis? And so we're being proactive, which is the mark of a dynamic person. Most people like to sit in their pain. It's just it's the reality. But what makes somebody want to, popular and charismatic are the people who say, yes, this is happening, whatever it is, or people are being saying that I can't accomplish this or that, or I've got people negating my talent or your abilities, or you're too old, or you're too fat, or you're too skinny, or whatever it is they're telling you can't make it, is that I'm going to win in spite of you and because of you, in spite of and because of you, which means that I'm on a journey that that you're creating your audience, again, whatever it is, whether it's people who could hire you or people who are an audience, to want to support you like a rooting section, like in sports. And so I always like to use science. Science is a very interesting thing because basically we're human animals, and there's this whole science of why we do the things we do. So I've studied behavioral science, psychology, the science of psychology, and cultural anthropology, the history of culture, which means that we can play things and understand why people have the culture that they had when we want to play something from a period piece or from a particular country that we're not from. Um, that allows us to really understand the character profoundly. And then we're watching them try to overcome something that's in their way, whether it's emotionally or physically or both, to overcome. So the science lesson here is that there's proof from archaeologists that there was sport being played by early man before he became upright. Neanderthal man was playing sport and games of contest. And so but that's millions of years old. Theater is 2,000 years old, ancient Greece. Okay, so let's do some math here. Okay, we have millions of years ago, coming from that place of understanding the win-lose situation, trying to win something, and the win-lose reality, or people who want to feel things. And so we want to engage people like a rabid sports fan. And you do that, people will they feel like they have to have you in their cast.
Yeah.
It's like it really is, it's as simple as that. It's like going on a date. You go on a date and that person goes on and on about their exes and how awful they were. Do you want to go on a second date with that person? Well, I call that the callback.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a callback because you're depressing them.
I love that it's a more constructive mindset. It really is, and I think that's great because I know I read that Pamela Anderson says you helped her, and I love this quote: "Turn messy life into interesting work." And I
Yeah.
think it seems to be a common theme that successful actors say. Their ability to tap into any pain in their life and learn how to use it to sort of fuel their portrayal of a character is a real key to acting success.
Well, it's not just to fuel their ability to play a character, but to make that character be of dynamic nature, a person who takes their pain and says, I'm going to do something with it,
Right.
as opposed to sitting in it. And so I think people all know, and the reason why I feel like that my technique has helped so many people book really great jobs. I mean, it's in the bookings, right? You got to book
Yeah, that's it.
because you can't. You know what I say? You can't take a call back to the bank.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's like,
Absolutely. And you look at your bank account as success, especially as an emerging actor. So yeah, absolutely, 100%.
absolutely. And the thing is this, but if you go in thinking, okay, yes, I feel like I've been rejected a bunch. But you need to take that information, say the next one is mine. And I'm going to figure out how to do that. How do you do that? You got to study more. You got to figure out like what is missing in your work that all those no's happened. Because I used to be in casting. I was married to a producer director who's won so many awards in his movies and TV. And it's like I've sat in so many casting sessions. I know what books. And what books is people that aren't trying to do what they think is on the page. I call it paper pleasing. So if you do what they want to see this, this, and that. That's not what they want to see. They want to see your specialness, which means all your flaws, embrace them, all your neuroses, embrace them, bring them to go after trying to overcome and win whatever the objective is in the script. And and therefore it becomes a very specific, mannered, quirky, um, interesting role of that nobody else is bringing to the table. But you have to like do the work. And all these people who think that they're just talented, so they're going to show up, or I did kind of a mush of work. I kind of know what my overall objective is, and I'm going to go in with that. It's just they have people who will do the work and they will get the job and they will get the awards. You know that talking about Pamela, we worked through The Last Showgirl 3 times. Went through every beat, every thought. There are many moments where she was not speaking, but we went through those scenes as deeply and as specifically as we did the scenes that had dialogue. And she wanted to do it 3 times because we always added layers and dimension and layers and dimension and adding because I don't work from like method is about going back in time. I take what's going on in your life right now because you don't know how it's going to end up. So you're in the raw, you're gritty and raw, and you're using the stuff that you're trying to figure out in today's world. It might be relatable to something that happened to you early on in your life, but that's called psychology. But that's who we are today is accumulation of all the things that have happened. So whatever's going on in your life right now that you're trying to solve, you use it. So say something changes, you're in the middle of a shoot, you're on episode 3, and you've successfully been using something that is been working for you, but something new has happened. Someone just died, or you just got a bad health report, and you can't pretend that's not the most important thing that's rolling around your head. So I teach you how to use what's most current, because it makes you be that person who said, "What's going to happen next?
Yeah,
What's
no,
going to
I
happen
love
next?"
that. I love that. And I think even in situations like, say, you're playing a role in the theatre, and you might have certain objects that you're using to help at a moment, and what worked for you over the last 30 performances may not be working for you now, and you've got to switch it up and be a bit flexible, and also, yeah, of course, fueled by and informed by what's happening to you and how you're feeling, in your life at that time.
Yeah, because the most important thing is so people won't know what's going to happen next because why? You don't know what's going to happen next. Because when actors pre-plan stuff, we know. I know when somebody's pre-planned stuff because I know exactly what they're going to do next. So you know what I do? I turn the channel. You know what I do? I leave the theater because the thing is like I don't need a predict. I have my time. I have so many platforms to choose from,
Yep,
right?
right.
But
Yeah.
why I'm gonna pick yours when I know what you're gonna do. I already know what you're gonna do, so no surprises. So you have to put yourself in a place where, with all the work, you got to build a very solid house before you can put the right paint and decorations in there that you can keep changing and evolving and changing and evolving your performance. But you got to keep putting in things that are going to make you. It's a work in progress always. I'm going to give you a great. You want to hear a great Christopher Walken story? Of
Of course.
course you do, because he's great. He's wonderful, right?
Please.
And it has a longevity of career, which is what we all seek, right? A longevity, and not just that one part is that one part, and then that's over. You want longevity of career. So my husband directed him in a movie, and he would who do had so much writing on his page, the way I teach it in the book, how to write on the page so that's right there for you. And and he'd sit in the set to create place. He'd put up his fourth wall. He'd sit in the stuff, create, endow the place. I mean, he did all the work. And then in between every setup, he'd run back to his trailer and change the work that wasn't working off the work that was working so it was constantly a work in progress. Every setup, changing it and reconfiguring. And then the next scene, the same thing. He just did the work, and it's a lot of work, and it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, that's right. And there's no shortcuts like anything. The more acting's a lot about the doing as well. I know there's a lot of script analysis in a technique, and I think the more you practice that though on your feet, the easier it can be in those situations where something's not working, like in that example. Or I don't know, for me, And as an emerging actor, up and coming, you don't have the opportunity of sitting with a role for a year and rehearsing for it and all that. You might get the script the day before, for your 50 worder, and you rock up the next day. And I had a situation where it was just that, or it was a lead, but anyway, and there was a scene, and it was a busy scene, lots of extras, lots going on, but essentially a two-hander. And the director came across after the first take and said, "You know what? It's not working. What do you think your character should say in this situation, Max? Like, have a think about that, and we'll get going. We don't have the budget, the luxury of I'll take 20 minutes and I'll get back to you. We like, let's go." And I think knowing I could relax in a way because I know my character's scene objective. I know I can trust that it fits with the overall objective. I know that when I'm in that space, what I say is going to fit. What my character says is going to fit. But conversely, I saw the horror on the other actor's face. She's looking at me going, but that's not what. So we have to make up what we have to say. But like, how do we know? But we've got to do the same. We've got to say the same thing for the next close-ups. And I'm like, we're just gonna have a conversation. It'll be fine. Meanwhile, it's sound, speed, action. We don't have time. And I think that doing the work, as you say, means that you can trust the process to the point where if something's not working, you can switch it. You can switch gears. Or if someone comes across and says, "Hey, let's just turn everything upside down and go," you can have that confidence to trust the process and open up and be in that moment.
That's the whole thing about why directors love working with my people. Why I have so many directors and writer producers that I work with. I get 40% of the people I work with are directors and writers. And and the thing is, they love this way of working because it can change an actor so fast because we have so much work being done and so much substantiation to it from the point of view of the characters on the page to your personalization. So it's all that the process of doing this. So you're good to go. You
Yeah,
can say, okay, could you change this so that you're being more sympathetic or empathetic? And it's like, yep.
because I think
It's nice to substitution, or change the scene objective.
yeah,
It's just like it's just talk, just translate what they want into actor speak.
yeah, because I think practically the budgets are getting smaller, right? And we don't always have the luxury of doing several takes. I've worked on sets where budget's so tight, even the series regulars who've been there for years, could say, "Can I try that again?" No, moving on. No, moving on. You're lucky to get two takes. You've and it's hard enough as it is when you've got a guestie or a 50-worder role to turn up on a set that's been moving like a freight train for decades, and you've just got to catch up and go. That's already hard. But to be able to pivot and things change and we're moving very fast, it just so helps to jump in and enjoy the process and still enjoy the work, even though there's that extra layer of pressure.
Well, when I worked with Shirley Stern on Devil's Advocate, I was there with her. Warner Brothers paid for me to come out, not because she wanted me to come out, so she just asked if they would pay for it because she was my girl, and we trusted each other. And so the Al Pacino, he wanted to take one scene. This is the kind of work ethic you have to have. One scene, 3 pages. They spent 3 days breaking it down, stopping and starting, doing it, trying different things. It's like that's what makes people great. She is one of the hardest workers I've ever worked with. And all the people I've created, I can't say I created, together as a team we've created their stardom because I don't take that kind of credit because it's their work ethic. They're taking chances. When I say, well, you want to try this? They'll go, yeah. I remember with Jake Gyllenhaal. It was like, I remember the first time we met. I said something. I was like a little testing him. Just I gave him something really weird to try, and he said okay, and he did it, and it was actually worked really well. And I said, let's just stay with that. We're gonna break down the script of that, but he was willing to take chances, and all the greats. It's like Al Pacino once said. I just make a lot of choices and I hope they work.
I love that. I love that. And you're right about the work ethic. You're going to get more out of it the more you put in. There's no shortcuts, like I said. And I think I love this quote from Shelley's, the stakes have to be high. So it was an interesting place for me to stand on my feet and fall on my face many times. I love that quote. And it raises an interesting point too. Once an actor's familiar with a process, say that your technique, how important is it to keep, raising the stakes?
It's extremely important because it's that's what creates drama. So if we have to say our objectives to get to the other side of a road, so it's a sunny day, no traffic, and I just have to get to the other side whenever I want to. Or we have it's middle of the night, it's raining down like that sleet kind of icy rain. It's not snow yet, but it's ice and it's making it very, very slippery. There's huge trucks going really fast, and it's middle of the night. And across the street, your sister's going to die if you don't get there in 10 seconds. So what do you want to watch? I mean, it's like kind of a no-brainer to me. I want to watch the one that's on Mount Everest, not a hill on a sunny day. So when you raise the stakes, the more you raise them, the more we're going to be watching you with anticipation. Isn't that great? We don't want people to go, oh, like people from places that don't care about acting technique or anything like that. They don't talk to each other and say, "Hey, Irving, that acting's real good. Look how that person can cry on cue." And then say, "Yeah, she's really good because that person can just like they pick up their cues like they're masters. They don't talk like that. They don't talk about technique. They don't care about technique. They care if you entertain them. They care if you involve them. They care if you have a message that they believe in and they want to be supported and not feel like they're all alone in that message, if it's a message movie. So it's like we're there to help our public be able to feel like they're not alone in their stories, that we are there telling their stories on the screen or on stage for them to be able to feel like you're not alone in this. And I'm trying to solve it. Maybe so can you. And it gives people, your audiences, hope. Our job our job is to give people hope through our choices. Now we could make choices that say, "Oh, this is not going to work." I mean, like as the character, it's not going to work. And I'm going to die, or the person say, "I'm not going to die," and I know it's really hard because I'm in a pit full of snakes, and they're all super poisonous. But I'm going to find a way to dig myself out. Even if you do die, the point is that that journey before you died makes us go, "Oh, we don't want you to die."
I
But the
love
person
that.
who gives up, we go like, yeah, the person will probably die. They don't really care that much.
I love that. I think because I know at the end of the book where you provide some advice for actors, there's a couple of pieces of advice that really resonated with me, and one of them is the take risks, and I think that feeds into that whole let's raise the stakes, let's keep as an actor even in the process keep don't be afraid to take risks, because I know my fear as an actor is that I'll get comfortable, and it happens. I feel like I'm a bit comfortable. I've got my process, everything sort of falls into place, step one to step two, and I'm like, I have to pull myself out, and maybe it's time for another workshop. Maybe it's time to have another look at the process, because that's my fear that I'll get comfortable at some stage, and I don't want to make these choices from that sort of perspective.
Oh, and then also in the new book, it's all upgraded to like, self tapes and the things I
Yeah,
know that people want to see. Remember, it's 20 years since the last one. And so there's a lot of new information if I know it's going to help you book a job. So there's a whole new section. It's totally different. I mean, it still says take risks because I don't think you got to make bold choices.
yeah,
It's just what you got to do because it's like vanilla choices is vanilla, beige is a color, but it's beige, So we want to have like we want to take chances and be able to make people just kind of come alive off of what you're doing, and also it invigorates you, the actor. I want to. What I really like to do is get people. So many people have been doing this for a long time. They lose their joy of acting because it becomes so political or it becomes so like put the camera there and you got to do this and that. And what you want to do is be able to enjoy yourself, and your joy will be infectious. People will go, this actor's choice is so ex enjoying the exploration. You can feel it in the work and the choices that they make, that we get excited as part of your journey because we get involved and invested. And so I'm glad that you said you get too comfortable. I'm not sure comfortable is the right word because I don't mind people being comfortable, but making safe choices.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think the other point where and it's just something I keep checking just to make sure I'm making myself uncomfortable every now and then on purpose. I probably could have chosen that word better too, but you know what I mean. And I think the other thing I struggle with at the moment, particularly around when it comes to enjoyment, is the self tape. It's something that we just have to accept now. It's part of the industry, particularly. I mean, Australia's a lot smaller, but there's a heavy reliance now on self tapes, and I miss that being in the room and you're getting that feedback straight away. And so for me, it's the world of self tapes where you're becoming a director and everything. And I think what advice have you got for actors who really have to push themselves a little bit extra to get what they want out of a self tape environment?
Well, you just have to think in terms of whoever you're reading with.
Yeah,
Just think of it as a scene you're doing and like really put it out there. In the new book, there's a full-on chemistry exercise, whereas the old book, it was kind of dealt with in a very short, quick way. Now it's got its own chapter, creating chemistry with the person that you're reading with, even though we never see that face, we'll feel the energy of chemistry. And we automatically go, he's charismatic from that chemistry. Bringing in the need in terms of the substitution, the person that you're reading with, having the inner monologue around the person for the substitution using with the person that you're reading with, even though we never see that person, it's just a voice we barely hear. If you think of it as a regular scene, like you would when you went to an audition, is they're picking up on the energy of what they want to ultimately see on screen. So if you think of it as a actual I'm performing right now, it is not an audition, and it's another opportunity to just like play my craft, then if people will get that joy that you're having of just being able to explore that character with that human being that's actually in front of you, for them to watch you go, this person's really enjoying this process. And so I just saw a tape yesterday. The person he showed me the tape. We worked on the audition, and then he showed me the tape, and then he got a call or an email yesterday saying he booked the job. It's a lead, it's a two-hander, it's the lead, and really great script. And it's just, but if you look at what we did and how we broke it down was to find, even though he plays a killer, it's the joy that he doesn't see it as killing people, he as hurting them because he hates them. He sees them killing them as, because I always try to find the spin, the positive of a negative. Is that he's taking people who are unhappy and pulling them out of their misery. For him, it's euthanasia. So it would seem to be it was just a very interesting read because of that.
yeah,
And so it's coming up with like interesting ways to make it be a more positive journey to things that we automatically judge as
yeah.
being bad people.
I, I,
Because bad
I
people
love that.
think they're being bad.
Yeah, no, and exactly. I love that. I think also it's a great point to not get caught up in the process of, oh my god, I got to put a self tape down. It's no, I've got to get into this scene like I normally would, and I'm simply filming the scene. It's less
Yeah.
about I've got to get this self tape down and getting into that mindset. Sometimes when you like to overanalyze, or you can end up in a situation where you're doing, you've got 5 hours of editing to get one scene down to try and book the job. So I really like that. That's a great approach.
Make choices based on uh, again, I'm going to keep bringing up the book, but there's a whole, chapter on that's called energy kills and being killed, taking the victim out of being a victim, and how you can get hurt or killed, and making it your choice so that it doesn't seem like it's something that because we don't want to watch a victim's journey. We want someone who might be victimized by the circumstances, but they're going to find a way to take the victim out of being a victim. And so how do we do that? There's ways to spin why you need to be killed and but energy wise, or why you need to kill, but killing off bad energy that needs to get killed. So there's a chapter called Energy Kills. And it's just like everything is based on trying to take judgment out of the equation. Because if you judge your character, it's going to get judged, and nobody likes a judger. Think about this. Anytime you judge and when you watch two people, one person's judging the other, do we judge alongside the judger? No. We hate the judger for judging that person. We automatically take the side of the person that person's judging. So when you judge a character, you're doing the same thing. You're taking something that somebody lovingly wrote, something that someone's going to lovingly direct, and you're saying, well, this person's a bad person. Well, that's not going to create just like um, the wonderful thing about the movie that's called Natural Born Killers. They were having fun. They were creating relationship out of it, but they were killing people.
It
I
was
mean, it's
just
like,
their version of what makes a happy relationship is different to ours. But yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly. But just because Raging Bull, he beats her up all the time and then they have great sex doesn't mean that she doesn't like it that way. I mean, she promotes it. That's why she won an Oscar. That's why he won an Oscar. Because the thing is, they both made it that that's just how they do foreplay. They like the violent part. It helps them with their sex part. It makes great sex for someone who's a world champion fighter and the wife of a person who would be attracted to someone who likes to do physical damage to people in the ring. So it just made a matchup made it heaven, right? And so people but you could judge, say, oh, she's being abused. It's like, well, some people like to be abused because it's what makes whatever their relationship um work because it's what they both like.
Yeah,
It's so but without judgment, you have to take the judgment out of things. Because once you put the judgment in, you just lost the role.
yeah,
Guaranteed,
yeah.
100%.
You're heading back into safe
Yeah.
territory.
Well, it's not safe territory. It's territory that's making people say, why would I want to watch this movie? Because it's about ugly people.
Yeah, yeah, got it. I think the one thing that another thing that resonates with me from your work and your book is the importance of active listening, because you can see those moments when an actor's simply waiting for the other actor to stop talking so they can say their lines. I think that's something that I had to work on a lot at the start. Went through a workshop in Australia with in your technique with Anthony Brandon Wong, who was fantastic at creating this
What?
great space for us to really get into it and push out of your comfort zone. Because I'm coming back to acting after 20 years of corporate life. 20 years of hiding your emotions and all the rest of it, and trying to get into this space where I can really practice under pressure your technique and active listening was a part that I was struggling with, and it scared me because you can absolutely see those moments when an actor's just waiting to get their line out.
That you lost a job there again because when people tell me they show me their tapes, the directors or the writer producers that I work with, and they'll show me the tapes of the finalists they're interested in, and they always point out, look at what that person's doing, look at the behavior, or look at the way the person's listening. That's why they oftentimes give you these big monologues, not for you, but for the other character. They want to see how you listen because and rarely does anybody ever say, "I love the way that person said a line." So
Yeah,
an active listening, because you could listen, but it doesn't, it's a little passive. So I call it active listening because the process of that, the formula in that is first you take in the information from your inner work, the stuff that you've created as inner work. So what you're really hearing, and then how you feel about it, and then what you want to do about it. And that makes it active.
and in terms of your coaching, how different is your approach to coaching, say, an A-list talent who's probably doesn't have to audition anymore, just booking work, compared to an emerging actor in one of your workshops? Do you change how you communicate? Is it all everyone's at the same level, same process, same?
Well, I just think it's a good, I've been doing this technique for about 30 some years, 35 years. And and I just find that why would you change it up for an A-list actor? I mean, it's like you got to think of everybody as either they are an A-list actor or they're the future A-list actor. And that's in my head. I don't change anything. I don't I don't have that kind of fan thing. What I have is it's funny because when I've gone on red carpets with people, it's like when everybody's screaming their name, I'm going, no, that's just Halle Berry. That's my friend Halle Berry, you know.
I love
And she
that.
knows my stuff, I know her stuff. And it's like she's just Halle, you know. And so it's just to me, you gotta take out the hierarchy. That's what's been forced upon us for centuries and centuries that if you come from royal blood, you're better than someone who's a peasant. And so we upgrade that to the same kind of thing. It's like A-list actors versus starving actors working at a restaurant to get by, living with eight other people, you know, like everybody has. I mean, this story's Travis Fimmel, one of yours,
Yes.
in
Yes.
Australia. Travis had used to, because he didn't have enough money to have a place, he used to sneak in at night to the studio, sleep on the prop furniture, wash himself up in the studio bathroom, and then try to sneak out before he was found by the morning teacher. And he got caught once, but we're all friends. We're a community. My technique also creates a community. So now I have schools all over the world. I have community that's international, and I love it. I have friends, and we communicate in ways that we feel safe in telling each other anything and everything. And so that I just think is a great story because now he can afford whatever he wants to afford,
Right.
whatever he chooses to. But his thing was always being great. And oftentimes he just wanted to be proud of his work. He's another person who does everything three times, sometimes to an annoyance. I'm joking. Like, he says, you know how I work, Ivana? And I said, no, but we have to do it a third time. And so, okay, so this is an episode. So he goes episode to episode. And that means that it's like a lot of work. That means he doesn't have a life. He basically goes to work and works with me. He goes to work and works with me. And so, but that's, you know, and it's all about he's turned down because he's a good looking guy. He turns down those kind of roles because they're not interesting to him. He wants to be proud of his work. He wants to feel like he's doing something for each role that he's doing something different and something that he explore a whole nother reality with and not just make the money. He doesn't care about the money.
That's a great way to keep challenging yourself as an artist. I think that's a great approach. Yeah, and also with your classes, how often do you get directors and writers sitting in, whether they're auditing or an active part of?
Time, all the time,
Right.
all the time. In fact, somebody just they just did they workshop the material that they write because I think people need to be more proactive in their careers
Yeah.
too. Write stuff like Baby Reindeer, you know, because then he's become a huge star of something he wrote, and it's his life and that kind of stuff. Anyway, someone wrote something that was a part of his life. It's got a fictionalized version, but it's pretty autobiographical. Someone in class happened to be there who happened to be a producer, and he said, I love what I'm seeing and I'd like to produce it. You know, so it's like that's happening as we speak. I'm not talking like this is not urban legend, this is going on as we speak, you
Fantastic.
know. So, and this happens all the time because we're all in it together. We're
Yeah.
an actor, director, and writer. We're telling the same story. People forget that. So if a director comes up to you and he says, "I want you to do this," is because his vision isn't what you're doing. So it's up to you to like also have the conversation. What is your vision? What is it that you see about this character? And then it may need a conversation to say your point. And like I worked with Hallie on Monsters Ball. We had Mark Forster, and for 7 hours, we went through scene by scene, the three of us on my couch in my living room, just talking about the stuff that he thought needed to be, that we thought needed to be changed, his reasons why he wanted to keep it, or how he wanted to change it, or omit it, or whatever. It was a real ensemble kind of work process. So it became just like an amazing thing for us, you know, to do this off of like just everybody wanting just to make the best product, no egos.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's no passengers. Everyone's willing to do the work. That's fantastic. That's how you get better work. I mean, I think it's interesting too. As a writer, there'd be no better place to see your work come to life than in that workshop environment when actors aren't afraid to really push themselves. And sometimes it could be perhaps the first time they're hearing their work come to life with actors.
I script doctors, so I give them notes. I said, "There's a hole there, some big ass hole there. So you need to fill it. This is some three suggestions on how you can fill that hole. Or do you think that you should make this person more this or less that, or make that person maybe here's an idea. Let's give them an addiction that they're trying to overcome as well, or whatever. It's just we play. We're playing, you know. So it's not just they're seeing their work. What they're doing is doing exactly what actors are doing. They're also learning and growing and experimenting.
You need to get some credits as screenwriter. I think that's the.
I I literally have said, don't give me any credit for this at all, because I want to feel like I am the your your dirty little secret, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
fine with that. And one of the reasons why I quit acting is because I want to be the support system, the
yeah.
nurturing system. And just I guess the base is I don't really care about it. It makes me uncomfortable to be the star and like that person that everybody's tabloiding, celebrating in that kind of weird way. I want to be a nurturing resource that helps them come up with new, really cool ideas. And the reason why is because I never had that growing up. I didn't have a nurturing resource. I had a mentally ill mother who was a hoarder and who was like really clinically insane and should have been on meds and or in a place, but if somebody she wasn't properly diagnosed, this weird stuff happened all the time. And my father was off help changing the world, helping other people, so he was never home. He was a civil rights attorney. He was a labor lawyer. He was like he had the first black members of the executive board of the ACLU. He's that kind of guy, and so I feel like I wanted to be him. I wanted to be him that helps people, but not get the necessarily credit for it. But I got to tell you, the funeral, it was like the people there just said, "Your father changed my life. Your father changed my life." And when people tell me while I'm still alive, because I won't know what they're saying when I'm dead, is that- well, I could try, but I don't know what's going to
You're
happen
still
because
trying to
that's
influence what they say now. Yes.
unknown territory. But the thing is that when they tell me you've changed my life, you made me feel like I have a chance. You made me feel empowered by my pain. My shame is gone. All this stuff, and that makes me feel so good. And I feel like I'm carrying on my father's um, legacy.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's so really your fuel, your motivation over the years, and probably why then you found this path is because it comes from a place where you really want to give people what you didn't have as much of growing up. I mean, look, and over your career too, I'm sure you've seen so many actors. And what advice would you have for, say, an emerging actor trying to navigate the business of acting today?
I think what you have to do is people's gonna jump in head first with getting their pictures done and like trying to get an agent and stuff like that. But if you screw up, if you burn bridges, you burn them. And because there's so many people um, that that want to do this, that if you burn a bridge, it's unlikely you're going to get seen again. So the smartest thing to do to navigate this business is get great first. It's like a doctor setting up shop to take care of you, but he's only gone to med school and he didn't do any residency or anything that he actually specifically applied it, so we're getting like some guy who does from a book, and so I wouldn't want that person. It would be, you're never going to make money doing that or have success doing that. So you got to do it the right way. Study, study, study. Um, my classes are ones that people are working actors, so everybody networks and helps each other out. Here's my agent, or this is a part I just got. I mean, Travis does this all the time. Who do you got that's like this, and this, because I want to use your people and my stuff that I'm doing. And most of the people in my classes are like that. The issue is study first. Get so you can't burn a bridge. You will absolutely burn bridges. So if you want to like be somebody that's going to really be successful, you first got to do it. All the greats that I know of, and all the greats before are the ones that have, people before my time, or not part of my world. They've all studied, and they continue to study, and they all have coaches, and whether they know it or not, they generally do.
I think that's great advice, because and that's been my experience too. And I know I keep saying the Australian industry is a bit smaller, but I think it's a small world in our community globally, and you can't afford to burn any bridges, especially when you're starting out. And so that level of professionalism at all times. I've interviewed a casting director, award-winning casting director on the podcast, who said, I've seen an actor come in for a television commercial, and I've just been blown away and gone, look, not right for this particular project, but this person's going places. I'm going to remember this person. Although I might be putting them forward to the client, and sure enough, a few months later, a role comes up for a feature, and it's like, I know who would be perfect for this. You just can't afford to ignore any opportunity, no matter how big or small you might perceive it. You've got to be professional, and you only make one first impression.
And it's also like if they really like you, you may not get the part, but like this person said, it's like they'll remember you because there aren't that many people that blow you away.
Right.
But you
Absolutely.
can't blow anybody away by just showing up and memorizing the lines, or even having a little bit of training and then expecting that's going to hold water. It's like expecting to get to the Olympics, but only doing a couple of classes in Olympic type training. It's like you gotta like work your ass off, and I just can't say enough. It's like the studying process. One of the things that you missed about with Charlie Stern's quote is that she said she learned a lot when she fell on her face, and then she said, "And I fell on my face a lot." Sometimes she would say, "I'd like to do this scene." I said, you're not really quite right for this, but what the heck? Let's see what you do with that. And of course, she wasn't right for the part, and I was probably right in her. Probably shouldn't have done it. But the point is, it doesn't hurt to like take chances. I'm being funny when I said that, because the idea is, who knows? Maybe there's something about her that may be right for that role. It was a role that was a lot of years older than her, and someone who was the second wife. I mean, the first wife, not the second wife, and she was at the time 20 years old. So just, I don't know the history of her life that she could like apply to that.
Yeah.
But she, not for lack of trying, but some of the things that she did in class were so nervy and ballsy. And she was just, I said, everybody always waited to what she was going to do. And this is the beginning of her career, because she just was just a natural risk taker. I remember having a conversation with her. I said, because she was denying a bunch of stuff that she said. I said, you have to put what you just told me about your childhood stuff. You have to have some feelings about that. So no, I'm over it. I'm over it. And I said, well, okay, you can play that game and nobody will ever know who you are, or you can just like tell me, let's look into this and see what feelings you have about it, and how that manifests itself in your present day life. And she said, and I said, you can be famous real fast. Okay, your choice, because you have to have the balls and the bravery, and bravery is sexy, to actually just really expose through your work the deepest and darkest. And so she said, okay, let's do it. So it was like really that quick, and so we did, and well, the rest is history. She's a risk taker.
A risk taker. I love it. I think if we take one thing away, it's the risk taker. Don't forget that. I think look, it's fascinating too, just to hear just when you start drawing from these experiences and conversations with actors who are so successful because they do the work, because they take the risks. I think it's a testament to you and your skills and experience. I know you don't like to step into the limelight, but I think that's fantastic to be able to be in a position where you are to say you're wanting to actually successfully nurture all this talent, and to have all of these amazing experiences and conversations and successful actors to draw from as you help others in the craft. I think that's a testament to your skills and experience.
And I want people to know that this is like we're a special breed, and it's like and it's and then I know that you lost time being in the corporate world, but
Yeah,
time is spent, it's all like I said before, it's like a time when I'm teaching goes fast, time when I'm acting goes slow. And it's because I love teaching, not so much that actually being the actor. But the thing is that that's 20 years that's been this make it truncated and make up for it.
yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Ivana Chubbuck, for a great conversation. And your updated edition of The Power of the Actor will be released. I think it's the 29th of April. Should be required reading for any actor.
Also an audio, and I did the audio.
Oh, did you? Oh, so you sat in the room and recorded the whole book?
Oh, that I wrote it. I should talk about it. But I utilize the 12 steps and some of the formula stuff. I actually talk you through it. So you can actually put your earphones on, just listen to that right before a take. If you have to play stoned or whatever, I actually talk you through it. So you're actually going through the exercise. So it's actually very practical.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a double thing. And so you get the book and the audio because you listen differently than you read. You take things in differently. So you'll be more exponential connection to your skill level will exponentially grow from using both.
We can all have you in our ears, in our heads on set in the moment. Thank you very much, Ivana. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. And thank you for some really good questions and good luck with your career. Make positive choices, take risks, and continue to just like make choices based on things that you're going through in today's world. So it's raw and gritty.
Two unemployed actors.